The U.S. seeks to ban the sale of autonomous vehicles manufactured in China or Russia. The United States aims to ban the sale of Chinese or Russian-connected autonomous vehicles to protect drivers and national security. Although there is minimal Chinese or Russian software in the U.S., hardware components are more prevalent and harder to replace. Replacing hardware involves complex engineering and changes to assembly processes, delaying bans to 2027 for software and 2030 for hardware. The Commerce Department emphasized that vehicle technologies like microphones, cameras, and GPS could make Americans vulnerable to foreign agents. In extreme cases, foreign actors could control multiple vehicles simultaneously, causing accidents and roadblocks, said Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. This action is strictly for national security, not commercial advantage, Raimondo stated, noting few Chinese or Russian vehicles are currently in the U.S. European concerns about Chinese vehicle software are rising as Chinese electric vehicles take a growing market share, prompting security discussions. EU busca prohibir venta de vehículos autónomos de fabricación China o Rusa la nación. The United States aims to ban the sale of connected and autonomous vehicles equipped with Chinese or Russian software and hardware. The Department of Commerce announced this measure to protect drivers and national security. While Chinese or Russian software is rare in the U.S., the issue is more complicated regarding hardware components. Replacing hardware may require complex engineering tasks, so software bans will apply to 2027 models and hardware by 2030. This proactive measure is crucial as technology like microphones and GPS in cars could expose Americans to foreign threats. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo emphasized this is strictly a national security action, not an economic move. European regions, where Chinese vehicles are becoming more common, should serve as a warning to the U.S. U.S. budget agreement avoids government shutdown and maintains funding until December. The U.S. Congress leaders announced a short-term spending agreement avoiding a government shutdown until December. The measure includes $231 million to bolster the Secret Service after 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. Additional funds are allocated for the presidential transition and other matters. House Speaker Mike Johnson initially linked funding to a citizenship requirement for voter registration, but later compromised. Bipartisan negotiations led to extended funding until mid-December, allowing post-election budget decisions. Johnson informed colleagues that the budget measure will be very limited and include only absolutely necessary extensions. He emphasized that avoiding a shutdown close to an election is the most prudent political move. Javier Milei has arrived in the United States and is preparing to speak at the UN. Javier Milei arrived in the U.S. on Saturday, with his official delegation, for his 6th trip since taking office. He will speak at the 79th United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, with meetings scheduled with Elon Musk and others. The visit is deemed institutional, involving key officials like Luis Caputo, Patricia Bullrich, and his sister Karina Milei. There are no planned meetings with IMF or White House officials. A photo with Donald Trump is also not intended. Milei's speech will criticize the UN's 2023 agenda, climate change policies, gender equality, and alignment with China. His itinerary includes meetings with New York Times journalists, investors, and participating in the New York Stock Exchange's opening. On Tuesday, he'll present at the UN, meet with Google's Karen Bhatia, Ecuador's president, and the European Commission's Ursula von der Leyen. Shooting in the United States, at least 3 dead and more than 20 injured during an attack in Alabama. A tragic shooting occurred in Birmingham, Alabama, with at least 3 dead and over 20 injured. The incident took place in 5 Points South, a popular nightlife area in Birmingham. The shooting happened around 11 p.m. near 20th Street and Magnolia Avenue, according to local police. Several shooters fired multiple times into a crowd, resulting in numerous injuries and fatalities. Police found 2 men and a woman deceased at the scene. Another died in the hospital. Many injured individuals were taken to hospitals in private vehicles. No arrests have been made yet, but authorities are working to identify and apprehend the attackers. The cities with the highest wage growth in the U.S. revealed in a study. A recent study by ADP highlights the best U.S. cities for job seekers based on salary growth and hiring rates. Denver leads with a 5.8% annual salary growth and a $19 hourly wage for new employees, according to ADP. Large company investments, like PepsiCo's new manufacturing plant, have been pivotal in Denver's ranking. Other cities with strong job markets include Oklahoma City, Las Vegas, Seattle, and Portland, showing significant salary growth. In contrast, cities like Providence, Tampa, Baltimore, Salt Lake City, and Cleveland face economic challenges limiting job growth. Julia Polak from ZipRecruiter notes a shift from the Great Resignation to the Great Stay in the labor market. The Federal Reserve may reduce interest rates in September, potentially boosting hiring and overall job market conditions. Global alert: US, UK, and EU fear Israel-Hezbollah escalation. The US, UK, and EU expressed concern over the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. The White House believes there's still time and space for a diplomatic solution despite rising tensions. London's and Brussels officials have called for an immediate ceasefire. National Security spokesperson John Kirby stated an escalated conflict isn't beneficial and conveyed this to Israeli counterparts. Kirby mentioned tensions are higher than days ago but still sees potential for a diplomatic resolution. He added the US has been working to prevent an escalation since the conflict began on October 8. The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, emphasized the urgent need for a ceasefire. He expressed deep concern about the escalation following Friday's attacks in Beirut. The UK also called for an immediate ceasefire, stressing a political agreement for peace and safety for civilians. Israel and Hezbollah have exchanged intense cross-border rocket fire, sending thousands into shelters in northern Israel. Overnight rocket attacks hit Kiryat Bialik, near Haifa, igniting buildings and destroying vehicles. Hezbollah's attacks followed an airstrike in Beirut that killed 45 people, including its commanders, amid earlier deadly explosions in Lebanon. Israel aims to focus on Hezbollah after nearly a year of cross-border fire and a Hamas-led attack last October. Prime Minister Netanyahu committed to returning displaced northern residents to their homes after the prolonged conflict. After Milei's speech in the U.S., Argentine stocks listed on Wall Street dropped by up to 3.6%. Javier Milei's speech in the U.S. coincided with a drop of up to 3.5% in Argentine stocks on Wall Street. Sovereign bonds remained stable with a slight downward trend, while the country risk ended at 1,311 points. The Buenos Aires Stock Exchange also saw a decline, with major companies like Loma Negra and Edener leading the losses. Milei reiterated that his government would lift currency controls only when inflation hits zero. He was accompanied by various officials, including Chancellor Diana Mondino and Economy Minister Luis Caputo. Milei emphasized achieving fiscal balance and stopping monetary emission, boasting of a 2.1% monthly inflation rate. He stressed the importance of eliminating currency controls to stabilize the economy and promote growth.